I'm just going to jump into it this week because it's going to be a nightmare. We don't understand the horrors that are going to face us on Chris's Twitter this week. So Chris says that his offer still stands on being on Rogue Internet Man's YouTube channel, which people assumed meant that Rogue Internet Man had reached out to Chris and Chris was now accepting. We will find out later that that is not the case. This guy says, "Chris, I say this with friendship, but WTF, and why would you do something so stupid? I know you're not dumb." And Chris says, "We were testing the waters of the individual and confirming the foreseen detail of his intentions and relations with the individuals involved. We have our answers." That makes perfect sense. It is cool when one gets an imported coin from another dimension, universe, or timeline. Quite the artifact find, indeed. And he's holding up 3 nobody knows My Little Pony coins? I don't know. I'm sure there's something you can just buy from a stupid Etsy store or something like that, and maybe they were actually put out by Hasbro. But yeah, no, Chris thinks that they're actually from Equestria. That's nice. Mr. R. Sonichu says, "Sonichu told me Blake played guitar, and after talking, he agreed to record guitar on a song. It should be coming out sometime next month. Here's a pic of us after recording." And you get their little weird Sonichu OC and Blake holding a guitar. And then Chris, of course, has to comment on this fan art. "That's cool, but a note, Blake would not generally stick his tongue out like that publicly. That sort of thing is mainly reserved for Bubbles." He only sticks his tongue out at his wife. Hey everyone, now comes the time and moment that I am at liberty to share what has happened with our Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu in C197 since she and I had body swapped on March 31st, 2020. Hey, at least he drew something new, alright? This has gotta be canon in Sonichu. For starters, yes, it is still me, the OG Sonichu Prime, here in Chris's body. And we have this little drawing. It says, "Please listen everyone, I, Sonichu Prime, the original of Dimension Universe C197, tell you in all pure honesty." Among which, you can tell it is I, because my habits, phrasing, and all that differ from what is normal with her. No, they don't. Okay, you know what? Take that back. He has stopped saying I digress so much, so maybe it is actually not Chris. Not to mention, regardless of my having ascended to having a rainbow aura for myself, along with this body's rainbow aura, as drawn above. My personal outline, shown along the outline of Chris's body, is yellow and shaped like my good old body, flat-ended male Sonichu tail included. And, suffice to say, her rainbow aura went with her soul into my body as well. But her outline is blue, with the curved, heart-shaped tail at the end. So this is Sonichu's body with the rainbow aura, and this is Chris Chan's body with the rainbow aura, but you can tell that this is Sonichu because it has a yellow outline, and you can tell that this is Chris Chan because it has a blue outline. So the outline is how you tell the difference between whose soul is currently in the body. And yes, in more recent days, Chris has felt the need to attest her own identity by using mascara on my face. Not my cup of tea, to put it lightly. So Chris, who we're supposed to believe is trans, has created a fantasy for himself where he is now in the body of a male, and yet supposedly isn't suffering from any dysphoria. Why didn't he just go into Roasty's body? Anyway, Chris has stayed in our timeline for about 11 days since the body swap, getting used to my bod and everything. She, Magichan, and Crizel traversed to California for BabsCon 2020. Regardless of the pandemic happening here in 1218, there was no such pandemic in C197. That was nipped in the bud and cleared out before any widespread at all. Why would it even happen? Why not just say it didn't happen? Early on April 10th, they had a good and safe trip. Also, that Spider-Man villain's attempt, as chronicled in that PlayStation 4 game, was an epic fail on the villain's part. Is that the only piece of media that actually happened in the last year? Okay. Oh, actually, yes it is, because a lot of movies didn't come out. Anyway, but after they arrived, on a fated event, Magichan was forced to whisk Chris away into a paused timeline of that very second and moment. That was so she could channel and exercise her soul abilities and powers, as well as chronicle and rechronicle in multiple new Sonichu books. So it's the hyperbolic time chamber. Got it. Into hundreds. We have gone beyond 100. Bob Zool art, so your end is moot. I don't know. You're chronicling a total alternate dimension universe. Have fun with that. He's just attacking some random artist now, I guess. Chris was also going faster than time and light. A millisecond was equivalent to longer than a day to her. A whole minute would be like a year or so, like Wally West Flash. So she got a whole lot done. she has been storing all of her new books in her own personal subspace, which can be accessed in any and all dimensions, universes, and timelines at any moment, so she was more than capable of retrieving them after returning to our timeline here. So he's saying that he's been planning out new Sonichu books in his mind, in the hyperbolic time chamber from Dragon Ball Z, of course. Anyway, in that timeline moment, it was that very millisecond moment at BabsCon 2020 on April 10th, frozen in time, but she could still move, practice, and do freely as she did. She meditated, ran Mach speeds around the Earth, shot some non-living targets with the Thundershock and Thunderbolts, and practiced her psychic skills, especially her telekinesis and teleportation. She did a whole lot with that frozen in time planet and universe. She leveled up to where she could move planets with her mind, soul, and aura. Without her in my body, it's not able to do that, but the electric attacks, Mach speed, spin attacks, and punches can still break mountains at least. Like Senpai Sonic the Hedgehog, Eggman, and Giovanni's got nothing on us. Anyway, come November 2020, our time, which made it 7 months to us, mere milliseconds to Chris. Would it be the other way around? Where like a millisecond to us would be years to Chris? He got that backwards. The stability of that paused temp universe became lost. And Sonic.exe fatedly entered it and threatened Chris. She defended herself really well and had him on the ropes, yet Magi-chan intervened to retrieve her, to bring her back here to our timeline. So yeah, she had some catching up to do in the 7+ months time that had passed for us here. She was able to catch up in a mere millisecond with a faster than time meditate. She came to visit me and Rosie as well, and during the months, she had done a whole lot on her tasks, missions, and responsibility. Fourth wall breaking, we're all even going with the flow of her chronicled pages, as she had foreseen and written/drawn them here in 1218. So Chris in the subdimension is able to write a comic book that takes place in the real world, even though that's not how it's supposed to. I don't get it. Look up. You're looking from within a Sonichu graphic novel's panel or page right now. Wow. He's just saying it's nonfiction then. But she didn't go overboard. All of the other deities still have, and had, their respective inputs and events. After all, Occam's razor, it takes one deity to do, but even that deity still needs help. That's not what Occam's razor means. What? And that is with the help of her fellow deities, as well as those of us all in our pair of dimensionally divided universes to do our part to help in the manifestation of aspects of and specified events that needed to play out and do to succeed in the goal. My brain hurts. Anyway, Chris and I continue to do our parts, respectively on both sides of this veil iron curtain. Chris has worked so diligently, tough, and focused, that she got promoted to the ranks of Emmanuel, Buddha, Jesus, Zeus, and the like. At least, her soul did. My old body still remains her present vessel, but she needs this body that I continue to tend to and improve for over 9 months now in C197. Okay, so Chris's soul is a god, but that does not make Sonichu a god, and Chris will still need the body that Sonichu is now in. Okay. Why I and this body are still in 1218 perplexes me, but I do not lose faith nor have doubt in the event of transitioning dimensions coming up. In her time back, she has also had to fight bunches of villains, demons, and even otherworldly threats, as well as neutralize and see specific progressive events for both of our universes. And before any one of you all, bads and haters in 1218 comment, the merge is on! Rather, you all see it, feel it, sense it, like it or not. You all will see soon enough as well. So, stop asking me the where and when the merge questions. I have enough frustrations as it is with everything I continue to do on Chris's behalf, and for everyone in 1218, okay? Thanks for listening. Keep praying to Chris-chan Sonichu, and other gods and goddesses as well, including the CPUs, Celestia, and so on, as you each respectively will and do. Also, Hasbro, stop with G5. It is still very much too soon for that. G4 needs its televised seasons 10 through 14, and it will get those. The deities above you, and Celestia, Luna, and Twilight, even Discord, do command so from Equestria. So he's like, I'm not Chris, you can tell by our different mannerisms. And then he goes right back into this My Little Pony thing. Moving on to and with other topics of interest, I'd like to talk a moment about Ben Saint and his old Slime and Punishment comic. Take a look at this stone I recently acquired from Minerals and Mystics, formerly Crystal Connections. And then look at the rock. This is a chunk of hemimorphite mined from good old Arizona, the state where I think slime and punishment happens there, sure. The stone aids in communicating one's feelings and regulates inner emotions. It also allows one further spiritual growth with ego detachment. But, regardless of whether or not you're a stone believer, this particular stone, as I have shared with Ben Saint recently, it is quite similar to the slime poudrins from Neo Milwaukee. In fact, as our Chris Chan confirms as well, this stone is literally this universe's counterpart of that very same slime. So, if you enjoyed Slime and Punishment, or the Arizona Slime expansion pack of Twilight Sparkle Secret Chippic folder cards, or you want to have a bit of petrified slime for yourselves, hit up your local rock/mineral store, or look online for a chunk of hemimorphite. Slime and Punishment by Ben Saint in collaboration with our Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu can be read in its entirety on Tapas app. Note, as convoluted as it is, the events take place partly in C197 of our Omega timeline, and the Beta timeline. Try to keep up with the meta and dimensional universe subtext and locations. I can't, because it's nonsense. So Ben Saint is just being a complete ween and playing along with Chris's stuff. He changed his name to #LisaSimpson2020, which is obviously a reference to Chris thinking that Lisa's going to win the election. He says, while I don't yet have any C197 hemimorphite, I do have these Poudrin pins in original slime green and quick transformed blue, much rarer. Plus, some authentic C197 Slime Corp slime coin, the first cryptocurrency to be locked into physical legal tender. Very high-tech stuff. And Chris adds, by the way, mainly, the Poudrin stayed green after Chris had personally blessed it for Phantom Horn, but in the drawing, she chose the wrong marker to color it. But still, a lucky accident or blessing in disguise. Take your choices as you will. And then Ben adds, I assumed it was tinted blue with Christine's energy like her aura. God, keep up! Her aura is rainbow now. Come on. Now, Rogue Internet Man finally comments on Chris saying that he will in fact be on his channel by saying, for those of you asking me in DMs, F no, I won't have Chris on a live stream. As much as I'd like to pick Chris's brain, nothing good would come from it. It's not worth it, and Chris is best left alone these days. Amen. I hate that people still F with Chris, despite showing severe mental illness. It's not as funny as it used to be. I'll stick to the old stuff. I sincerely hope nobody is effing with them. Well, you don't know about the Praters then, do you? He continues, it definitely bring good money and views, but the consequences would be pretty bad. Chris would want a chunk of the money. He usually just hands out billing information after certain transactions. I don't need that kind of heat. So he's saying that he would have to pay Chris, and then Chris would leak his financial information. And Chris says, actually, we do the interview pro bono and free. We can focus on past details without talking about present or digressing too much. Well, there goes my entire compliment about Sonichu not using the word digressing. But yeah, you're lost, dude. I don't even know if I can read this tweet, but the death of Donald Trump in more ways than one. Not sorry, never will be. And it's a sign of the Trump sign on the ground. This was, tweeted on the 20th, which was the day of the inauguration. Does Chris think Trump is dead? I don't know. Tara Strong, who is a voice actress, she voiced Twilight Sparkle, says, Inauguration Day was perfection, a display of class, empathy, and return to sanity, unity, normalcy, and hope. And Chris had to comment on this. Agreed. At least back in C197, Lisa Simpson is sworn in as well, but for this universe, congrats Joe Biden. How old is Lisa Simpson in the other universe, though? All right, we got Bernie Sanders, Mr. Mittens himself. Joe Biden will inherit from Trump the worst economy since the Great Depression, the worst public health crisis in 100 years, massive wealth inequality, the existential threat of climate change, a racist immigration system. These unprecedented crises demand unprecedented action. And Chris Chan says, yep, as Lisa Simpson was chronicled in doing so, as Secretary Van Houten put it when talking about America's finances, we're broke. I suddenly want Bernie Sanders and Chris Chan on the same podcast. In case you don't keep up with video game news or Nintendo news, Nintendo is releasing a port to the Switch of Super Mario 3D World, including something called Bowser's Fury, in which, in the trailer, it shows Giga Cat Mario, and he looks like this. He looks kind of like a Super Saiyan. That's what all the commentary is saying. So Chris says, hey y'all, have I a couple of comments about this form of Mario's? See, hey y'all, that's another thing Chris says. That's not a Sonichu thing. Even the lightning bolt. That's not a Sonichu thing. That's a Chris thing. I do believe he is now stealing from Mad Munchkin's Matty Lion form, including the size. And yes, stealing a more likely Super Saiyan form from Sonic the Hedgehog, Goku. and even from our own Sonichu and Rosechu Mega Evolved forms combined. Which leads into my other thought. Your Super Mario has evolved into an OP not Luxray. In case you're not a complete nerd, he's saying that this looks like the Pokemon Luxray, which not really. Overcompensating much against Groudon form and sized Bowser, good multi-skilled plumber? All I can say is, you do you. But seriously, Mario's new cat form is an oversized smush of mine and Rosie's Mega Evolved forms. You should sue Nintendo, then, Chris. You should sue for copyright infringement. See how that goes over. I pray to Chris Chan, all of you are doing well for yourselves. If karma is against you, I'm sorry for you having a hatred fetish. Passive-aggressive moments aside, should anyone be interested in being in meditative sync with this brain, although it generally is in meditate and cosmically and dimensionally linked 24/7, 365 plus 1, you all may do so during the 2 p.m. hour Eastern Standard Time. I'm lost. Okay, so he's saying his mind is always meditating, but if you want to be in meditative link with him, then you should meditate at 2 p.m. on January 22nd, Eastern Time. This applies to any day of the week. So chime in any day at around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For this body and I, Sonichu Prime of Dimension Universe 197, it is involuntary and good. But for you all who wish to, it is an opportunity to join us and feel blessed. Unite the bonds, is Power Rangers gif, and I guess he thinks that people meditating together from across the world will unite the bonds. Mend the fabric, fabric, I get it. Connect the stone, to rock. Strengthen the magic. Flow with us. This is scary. Everyone, between both of our dimensionally divided sibling universes of 1218 and C197, note this date and day, January 22nd, 2021, aka 12221, for it is on this day that we all see eye to eye interdimensionally as the merge comes to the completion. Thank you. Why? The merge completed on the 22nd, apparently? And then 5 seconds later, oh, the merge completed, and then he's complimenting someone's fan art. Okay. For all of you who have meditated this afternoon during the 2 p.m. Eastern Time Hour and succeeded in linking with us today, I leave this tweet for you all to share your story from today. Insincere or hatred comments will continue to be ignored. Lightning heart lightning. Oh, but the heart is yellow because he Sonichu. So in response to this, I sent out this tweet. Sometimes I read comments below quick tweets, but I always feel like I shouldn't give attention to weens, because I think it would just incentivize them to ween more. But I think it's important for this week's story to read these replies that Chris asked for. What should I do? And so I've decided to go with Tara's idea, which is any sort of recognition will draw in people to feed Chris. Even ones you don't read sometimes, viewers still see them. But for context's sake, just blur out the names and hide the icon so it doesn't give feed that specific person, and put a disclaimer beforehand, which is what I'm doing right now. So there are 135 comments beneath this tweet. I meditated, and I saw Magichan with a big bong, and I told him, no, Magichan, this isn't the way to live, and he laughed and farted, and I had to get out of there. I was so scared, I was shaking bad and pissing myself. Please tell him to stop, Sonichu. Guys, he just sent me a mental transmission. He told me to delete thus, because no one needs to know his name is Magikush. Help, guys, I'm scared, he's gonna hurt. Magichan Sonichu's name is not Magikush or Magichan Sonikush. And no, I am not at all affiliated with Magichan Sonichu. My mind, body, and soul remains intact, and yes, I am ready and prepared for the upcoming dimensional merge, which is to happen shortly. Thank you all. And the clear implication of this story is that Magichan got him and then took over his tweet. I get it. I meditated and poo-poo came out of my butthole. When I opened my eyes, I was in a cold, dim room in C197. In the middle of the room, there was a filthy mattress on the floor. I saw this scene replayed over and over on that mattress. Horrifying. This is from an issue of Sonichu where the idea guys convinced Chris that he had to have sex with Sonichu. I injected hydroxychloroquine directly into my eyes because I was meditating super hard. John Constantine showed up, kicked me in the nuts, took my smokes, and called me an effing wanker. Didn't see you or your copyright infringement abortions running around, though. Please advised. Here I am in C197, and it's a picture of the city dump. This one's just a picture of Chris in a straitjacket. Thank you. During the meditation, I went back to check on year 2100 in C197, and unfortunately, the future is still faded as it is in Sonichu issue 100. End of Sonichu. Christine from the future of 2100 asked why haven't present Christine draw comics in the past yet. I have not been heavily affected by the merge. However, I followed Chris Chan's instructions exactly this afternoon, and my OC, me with the longer penis, actually appeared to me. Thank you so much. I was meditating, and I saw a big effing monkey, and I was like, wow. And then he looked at me, and then he saw me, and I was like, wow. And I clapped and was very happy. This is what the monkey looked like. And there's a gif of a monkey. I fell asleep and woke up an hour later. That sounds cool. Oh, I marinated instead. It's a lovely steak, though. I was raped by Pepe the pig. I am mildly confused. I took a bong rip with Sonic. My OC beat me up because I was putting him through in my story. I think I linked with you. I'm not for certain, though, but I felt a connection between worlds. And finally, why'd I end up in Shrek's swamp? Okay, so if you remember from last week, Chris sent out really weird DMs to people, saying a lot of sexual stuff. Rogue Internet Man thought that Chris was hacked. I also in the beginning thought that Chris was hacked, but by the time I put up my video, I had been informed that he was not. And so Chris is now copping to it, saying, I will own up to this. Yes, this was a voluntary mistake and mishap that I, personally, did indeed participate in. Need no worry. This matter is personally being dealt with. I apologize for the sequence in this event. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. So Chris is admitting that he did in fact do it, but we're not still sure why, so we're going to see what this new thread that he started on the 22nd adds to the story. The guy whose behind you may want to kick is Larry Vaughn78. He was the ween who thought it would be funny to spam scat, but he is a ween who wants only attention. Why would you say his name? I understand I am making irony by mentioning him. Yeah, you are. I understand I'm making irony by mentioning him here, but hear me out. Please, see, Chris, Magichan, the others, and I had foreseen his input years in advance, but the possible intentions and outcomes were many. So I had to play along. To not have played along would have triggered a worse event for this timeline, believe us. It was not until after, when his initial intentions only sounded good-natured, when Vaughn had talked with our neutral friend, who then backed him up. So, on that outcome, we proceeded to contact those on his wish list. Getting no recognition of him from the contacts was the next confirmation. And the final nail in the coffin was the ciphered message. I followed it mainly on the encouragement to keep this timeline safe. Again, another foreseen worse event had I not done so. So we're gonna pause here. So if you remember from his DMs from last week, he was talking about a lot of sexual things he wanted to do. He also quoted a serial killer. He also talked about this guy, Vaughn. So what I think is very clear that happened is that this guy tricked Chris into sending out these messages. Chris then realized when what this guy said would come to pass didn't happen, that he was a ween. So Chris then convinced himself that this was all foreseen and that he did it on purpose. I believe that Chris actually does have the capacity to convince himself of things that make no sense like that. So he thinks that he did this to prevent something worse from happening. And he's now walking us through his delusion, his mental gymnastics to pretend that it made sense. But it further confirmed his bad trolling and ween intentions. In the coming days, I would witness him, as foreseen, digging his own holes with his replies to others, solely for attention wanting. Meanwhile, Chris and Magichan observed and guided his hand in realizing his errors and ways and approaching his appropriate punishment of lack of attention in response to his more recent act, here, that he has pled guilty of by this point. So Chris is saying that the punishment is to not get attention. Why is he naming him now? It makes no sense. My voluntary mishap was required in the event sequence to make him see that even though one may have gotten the attention they wanted in development or recent days, it remains wrong to seek attention by following a toxic trend at the expense of someone else's morals, values, and reputation. What he really should have done was just going out and being kind and open with others, with no intentions whatsoever to inflict wounds and sour notes upon them. And he could have sought help and guidance of his own to develop his social skills for the better and to refrain from being selfish as he was. The problem is that the guy obviously got what he wanted. He got me and Rogue Internet Man talking about the DMs. He got the people that Chris DM'd to, complaining to their Twitter followers that Chris had sent them weird DMs. This is going to be on the quickie, and now Chris has named him. Like, the guy got everything he wanted. End of the day, you may or may not tell Vaughn how much of an a-hole he is, knowing well that is exactly what he wanted in the first place. A massive response from a sizable group of individuals. If, however, you feel pity on him, that's your call. But you have been warned of what he's likely to do at the present time with his recent misdeeds. Do as you will, thanks for listening. Also, we have known this whole time, regardless, the psychics and I've written this tweet set on Monday the 17th, And then, after writing all of the above, I received texts from his number that were pretty much a confession. So I had to blur all that out because it had the guy's phone number and I can't include that. But it was just the guy basically saying that he was planning to troll Chris and he wanted to troll Chris more in the future, but now he's not going to do it because it kind of fell through. Because Chris knows what's going on. And even further was his idea of sending us a ransom letter in saying he had kidnapped a Magi-chan Sonichu. He would have ended up kidnapping an Alt Dimension one and having backfired in his face. I'm not going to read you this guy's insane plan because, again, it didn't happen. It's not going to happen. It's fine. But aside from Vaughn the a-hole, not just this person, but that people who have nothing better to do with their time but to harass Chris and me are pathetic. Chris was just trying to take care of Barbara and living day by day without hurting anyone else, aside from her being destined to become a literal goddess and everything. But hater people like that guy. He has a job at a Virginia vineyard and travels around, has a family who he neglects for his big-breasted wolf waifus and... Why was he so interested in trolling us? Dumb neat he was. How is he a neat if he has a job? Again, thank you, and have a good and safe day. Okay, it's confirmed. Chris doesn't know what a neat is. I have just had a significant vision. Earthquakes are not a rarity in California, but one is going to really devastate a metropolis there. Ooh, now if an earthquake ever happens in California's future, Chris can say that he predicted it. Okay, so Larry King died, and so Chris has to comment on it. Of course, he says, also, just heard of the passing of Larry King. He was a great for 1218 for CNN and all. Magi-chan appreciated his share of wit and political insight as well. Magi-chan didn't have to watch television, because with his powers, he watched from his psychic vision. Okay, but is he in the other universe now, Chris? What's he doing there? Is he a Sonichu? And then the last tweet is Chris saying that he blocked a ween who I'm not going to show, who just keeps posting one of Chris's porn videos on his Twitter feed. So that's everything that happened this week in Christory. You can follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin, and make sure to subscribe and like this video, because if I ask that, then statistically more of you will do it, and then the video gets recommended to more people, and then more people will watch. I don't know.